So a lot of you guys are clearly excited about Christopher Nolan's Tenet and also Denis Villeneuve's Dune, and as I'm in the same boat as someone who's a fan of all of their work and I cannot wait to see what they do with their next projects, I thought I'd do a video on both of the directors, giving you guys my ranked list of their films so you can kind of understand where I place their films if I was to rank them, and also just to go into their filmographies a bit more. And of course I'm going to do specific videos on their filmographies in the future on this channel, whether that's individual films or their filmographies as a whole. So I thought I'd do a ranked video on Christopher Nolan's film list to start off with and give you guys my kind of perspective on how I would rank his films. Obviously everyone's going to have a different perspective on where they put certain films, you know, if they put Inception at the top, if they put Dark Knight at the top, everyone's going to have a different kind of approach to how they rank his films. But I'm going to give you mine, and I'm going to go through every film he's done and put it in a specific ranked list and order, and let me know down below how you would rank Christopher Nolan's films. But before I get into the video, if you are interested in seeing more about Tenet, if you're interested in seeing more about films like Dune, then subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and if you enjoy this ranked list, give it a like rating. So without further ado, let's get into all of Christopher Nolan's films ranked. At number 10, Following, the film that kicked off Nolan's career and grew in popularity as his career developed. Made on only a $6,000 budget, Following is a British neo-noir crime thriller that tells the story of a young man who follows strangers around the streets of London and is drawn into a criminal underworld when he fails to keep his distance. Complete with non-linear narratives, shifting perspectives and time jumps, Following lays the groundwork for some of Nolan's most familiar auteur traits. He also captures his fascination with troubled protagonists and completely summarises his interest in the process of filmmaking, the detail that the world around him possesses and the detail that is worth and not worth following. In just 70 minutes, Nolan is able to accomplish this in a way that a lot of filmmakers cannot in 120. His directorial debut is a tense noir that hints at what the filmmaker would later become. Taking the number 9 spot is Insomnia, a remake of the 1997 Norwegian film that proves Nolan can even approach a remade story with the level of integrity that he does with his original ideas. Insomnia is propelled by Nolan's continued focus on the troubled protagonist, with a performance by Al Pacino's Detective Will Dormer and Robin Williams' Walter Finch. He tackles the ideas of motivational right and wrong with a story that acts as a classic murder mystery. With an exceptional screenplay, cinematography and direction, it conveys an atmospheric journey that uses the landscape of Alaska to interrogate the human psyche and begin to unfold the film's crucial events surrounding a murder investigation. It was the film that proved Nolan's first studio film Memento wasn't a fluke, and that Nolan was on his way to accomplish major success in Hollywood. Next, at number 8, The Dark Knight Rises, an epic conclusion to Nolan's groundbreaking Batman trilogy featuring another iconic villain and performance from Tom Hardy's Bane, ambitious scope and action sequences, as well as an emotional core which we didn't explore much in the previous 2 films. Although many like to label this as his weakest film in the Dark Knight trilogy, for me it's not a weak film by any stretch of the imagination. With Bane's revolution rooted in class warfare, the fear of Gotham portrayed by cold and deserted city streets, and other great emotional performances from Michael Caine and the range of the cast, Nolan captured a relevant and deep subtext that reflects the world's state of affairs today. Not to mention the wonderful work of Nolan and his production team, the filmmaker explored yet another genre within the trilogy, the emotional context of war. Coming in at number 7, Batman Begins. What Nolan accomplished with this 2005 film cannot be overstated. Batman was long considered one of the most valuable properties in Hollywood, until Warner Brothers shelved the character for 8 years after the events of Batman and Robin. Batman Begins, to a lot of fans, including myself, is the greatest superhero origin film of all time. It represented a new approach to comic book filmmaking. Dark, gritty, grounded and realistic. And although we saw comic book movies with a dark approach before Batman Begins, It was this film that Nolan employs some of his favourite auteur trickery to nail the approach he was taking. With temporal and layered plotting, Nolan allows the audience to see a man or damaged billionaire change into arguably the most familiar character in the world. All the while, it feels fresh, new and exciting because we'd never seen a Batman so serious and believable. Nolan transformed a well-known hero's tale into a prestige action-adventure that fans never realised they needed, and in doing so, he put himself on the mainstream map as a filmmaker. At number 6, Memento. Nolan's first studio film starring Guy Pearce tackles Leonard Shelby, a man who suffers from a rare, untreatable form of memory loss while tracking down his wife's killer. The fact that Nolan's Memento pulls off being a dazzling mystery thriller and not a convoluted mess is an accomplishment in its own right. Memento finds a way to juggle an intercutting black and white sequence in forward order and a colour sequence in reverse. Nolan makes this work seamlessly while opposing character motivations, ulterior motives, betrayal and misery. He's able to execute an affecting puzzle that only benefits from its fractured narrative. Its purpose is to put the viewer inside of Leonard's mind. The disability of Leonard throws an extra amount of tension and mystery that takes Nolan's film to the next level. At number 5, I'm putting The Prestige. The Prestige has all of Nolan's favourite filmmaking elements, from non-linear narratives and unreliable narrators to a mysterious sci-fi slant and purposeful misdirection. It explores the naturally tragic conclusion to a story of two rival magicians trapped by their own undying need to best one another. The Prestige is an excellent piece in that it's a picture that demands your attention and that earns the focus. The first time around, it's a mind-bending puzzle. The second time through, you're looking for the tricks and still not finding them. The third time through, an intricately crafted masterpiece that begins to take shape. The Prestige begs for repeat viewings, just like Inception and some of his other films, and it benefits from that hugely. It is a well-rounded and efficient story that successfully contorts itself into a twist on the traditional three-act movie. The fact that Nolan released this in between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight just shows his range in genre filmmaking, while all at the same time displaying his signature approaches to the craft. In the number 4 position, Dunkirk. Dunkirk is a feat of technical wizardry that represents the art of filmmaking at its finest and most innovative. Visually and audibly, Nolan gives audiences something they've never seen before in theatres, as his raw craftsmanship reaches new heights. Dunkirk isn't so much a movie as it is a visceral experience that needs to be felt and processed. The chaos and fear of war has never felt so real here. It is built on intensity, shuddering fear and blunt forced impact. Nolan conveys this through his signature use of time, showing 3 sequences, one of air, one of land and one of sea, which eventually join together to be the sheer force of human survival. Using Hans Zimmer's ticking soundtrack, Hoyt van Hoytema's tricky cinematography, and a tightened script from Nolan's limited dialogue, he was able to capture an event the audience didn't know they wanted, but they needed. A simple story of coming together in the midst of conflict. Rounding out the top 3, I'm placing Interstellar. Interstellar is up there with Dunkirk as one of Nolan's most polarising films. You're either accepting of the places he's asking you to go, or you're unwilling to hop on board. Either way, at least the man is going for it, as Nolan's most personal and intimate feature, Interstellar, is Nolan's love letter to his children, all while exploring even greater areas in science fiction. Nolan's other inspiration for Interstellar was Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, which focused on the supernatural forces that can propel us forward as a species. Where Interstellar differs is that it focuses on us as humans launching ourselves forward. Nolan suggests that we can change our own future and in turn help future generations be better off for it. Each viewing reveals new details that's just like Nolan's other films. It calls for multiple and even more satisfying rewatches. In second place, The Dark Knight. What many, including myself, call a masterpiece of a comic book movie, The Dark Knight solidified Nolan's rise to auteur fame within the blockbuster world. Continuing from Batman Begins, it went a step further in showing that a comic book movie could be rooted firmly in today's world with relatable messages, but at the same time remain firmly planted in the comic book genre. I see The Dark Knight as a response to 9/11, a film about a terrorist, an individual who, while resentful, decides to take it out on the rest of the city. And although we never find out why, that's the brilliance of the Joker character, and in particular Heath Ledger's performance. The poster for The Dark Knight and the visual imagery of the film clearly portrays this post-9/11 world, and many viewers could instantly connect to that. Although Ledger's portrayal became the main talking point of the film's success, it cannot be understated how great of a film The Dark Knight is because of so many other reasons. The heightened sense of reality across all areas of production from the first film, the insane balancing of art and commercial cinema, and the fantastic script that Nolan wrote with his brother is an unforgettable piece of cinema that to this day is still talked about among many in the conversation for the best movies of all time. And at number 1, the film that released after The Dark Knight, Inception. For me, this was the film that got me into cinema while I was growing up. It was a feature film that disguised the process of filmmaking within a narrative about dreams. And if anything, cinema is like a dream. It conveys a world that is eerily familiar to our own, until it isn't. And that's what Inception suggests. From the cast all portraying roles of a film production, Ellen Page being the production designer, DiCaprio's Cobb as the director, Tom Hardy's Eames as the actor, and so on. If any film Nolan has done created rewatchability to the highest degree, it's Inception, with some of the best practical action set pieces I've seen in a film, from the rotating corridor to the snow fortress scene. It's the perfect example of a heist thriller. But as I say, it's more than that. The underlying messages of filmmaking, getting lost in a reality that's not real or one you question, are topics we as human beings can't help but think about. And the way Nolan crafted this all together was mind-bending in so many ways. Many films have tried to replicate this since, but haven't quite reached the mark. And that is my ranked list of Christopher Nolan's films. I hope you enjoyed the video and, you kind of can put your own perspective on the list I've just given. Remember to let me know down below how you would rank his films. I thought it was an important video to do since a lot of you guys who have been subscribing to the channel are, either Christopher Nolan fans or also fans of Denis Villeneuve's work. Also, book readers of Dune, which is obviously Villeneuve's next project. But I thought I'd bring this video because then it could kind of expand on the filmmakers that are approaching these projects that we're excited about, and it also leaves room for me to go into different videos about their older films and films that are yet to come. So I thought I'd do this video doing that. I'm also going to do one on Denis Villeneuve at the end of the week, so if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. If you enjoyed this ranked list, give it a like rating and let me know down below how you would rank Christopher Nolan's films. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.